something happened with a bank account that I had, which was my primary bank account. And at the time, I was living paycheck to paycheck. And when something happens to your checking account and you can't pay your bills, it's devastating. The aim is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible before it gets hijacked by institutions, the governments, cheating people. And you don't really get orange pilled until you understand money, you understand the problem, and you understand why Bitcoin solves it.
It's nice to meet you.
Thank you. You too.
I know I figured I was like, someone's gonna know my name or my face eventually. So
Exactly.
it's all
And
good.
people do their diligence to figure things out. So,
I know I post enough random stuff. I'm like, I'm in Florida. You can probably find me somehow. Whatever. It's all good. But no, so I wanted to know you, who Michelle is, because I have a little story for you about what you guys did with the Bitcoin army. But I wanted to interview you first because I was like, it's kind of cool what you guys are doing.
yeah, I'll share a little bit about myself first, and then I guess we can talk about the Army.
Yeah.
But so, me, I'm just a mom, grandmother, middle aged woman who bought Bitcoin a few years ago. And then sometime in December, I decided I wanted to have a bigger voice in the Bitcoin community. So I just started posting. And, um, and so that's sort of how my identity came about. And things happened very quickly. But just to go back to, I've told my story on how I found Bitcoin or how it came to me a few times. But really, if I could iterate this more and more to people, is that years ago, something happened with a bank account that I had, which was my primary bank account. And at the time, I was living paycheck to paycheck, like most people. And when something happens to your checking account and you can't pay your bills, it's devastating. So I went through this roller coaster of emotions, was pissed at everybody, mad at the bank, like, how could you freeze my account? Who authorized whoever it was that told you to freeze it, blah, 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 mad at my ex husband. And I made like all of these personal commitments, like from that moment, that that shit would never happen to me again. And fast forward a couple of years from there, Bitcoin was introduced to me just by a friend, and it was through multi-level marketing because in 2017, like a lot of multi-level marketing things were picking up. So when he was talking about the attributes of Bitcoin, it made sense to me that it didn't need an intermediary, no third party, and I could be my own bank. Like all the bells started going off, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And but I didn't want to do multi-level marketing, so I just said, "Well, why don't I just buy Bitcoin myself?" And I did like I was Googling and trying to figure out how do you buy Bitcoin, and then I fell upon Coinbase, which is where I bought my first Bitcoin.
Same.
So it that part of it made sense to me, but it was still like a number go up game. I wasn't there for the revolution, you know. I was like, shit, this thing is going up pretty fast. And by the way, like I had bought it in March, and then by like September, it had 3x. And I didn't even pay attention. If I was, I probably would have sold it. But I didn't even pay attention. So and then on X and YouTube and all this, there were all these price predictions. McAfee talking about 250,000 or 500,000 at the time. And so it was looking like shit. This thing it was not going to stop. So I got all my friends and family to buy Bitcoin.
Nice.
And then we crashed, and I started going for the shit coins, like, and making money, losing money. I didn't care because I was up, up, up. But it taught me a lot. And the number one thing that, if I can impress upon everyone in our community, is that when you get your friend or family member to buy Bitcoin, they are not orange pilled. They are
100%.
not. They are there for number go up. And it takes a couple of cycles or a lot of conviction and a lot of studying to understand what you really hold outside of something that's going to go up. So that's why I think the Bitcoin Army community is.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I don't even know what I was saying.
You were talking about the Bitcoin army about or sorry, you were talking about how people, they get on Twitter or X and they're like, you come for Bitcoin if you even follow like that trend on X, and everything is just like number go up. It's pumping numbers. It's
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, you got into Bitcoin and it like tripled, and then it goes down, and then you start shit coining and you start buying things. I did the same thing. I bought Dogecoin. I bought like Ethereum when it was like $200, and I thought I was genius.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh hell yeah!
Yeah.
And then, but you were saying like your family, if you get them to buy Bitcoin, that doesn't mean they're orange pill.
That's right. That doesn't mean they're on orange pill because they're there for number go up. Because they either, like for example, when I told all of my friends and family, I was telling them on the premise that this thing is going. So let's get it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, and you should look at X coin and, Solana and this. They got that too. And
Yeah.
so for them, it was all about number go up. When you start to talk about like the reason Bitcoin is important, why it was invented or given to us as a gift, like you lose people because they're not there yet. They don't really understand the problem. I feel like I was lucky because I had my bank account frozen, so I understood the problem with money not being money or my money. But so they don't understand the problem, so they don't really see Bitcoin any different than any other gamble. Um, and so, like, I really think that's where we have an opportunity as the Bitcoin Army with our ethos, our mission, to really make a difference because when the narrative becomes something different other than number go up, people are less likely to shitcoin.
Mhm.
And the reason is you're teaching them. They're hearing what is money. They're hearing why is money devaluing. They're hearing how does Bitcoin solve for that. They're hearing all of these different things other than price prediction 444 by end of year. And so when we price prediction 444 by end of year, we're not doing anything different than what Solana's doing, than what XRP is doing, than what we're not doing anything different. We have to be teaching people. And you don't really get orange pilled until you understand money, you understand the problem, and you understand why Bitcoin solves it.
Oh, 100%. It was funny. When I told my dad about Bitcoin first, he was like, I have no idea what this thing is. I think it was like $6,000 at the time,
Yeah.
and he bought I don't even know how many, and he kind of aped in, and then he thought he got smart because he was not orange pilled. I was not orange pilled at the time either, and so we were shit coining. We were buying Ethereum, Dogecoin, all of it, and he thought he was smart enough to trade the market,
Yep.
and I don't even know how much he lost, but he still has some, and I don't think he'll ever be orange pilled, but he still has some Bitcoin, so my inheritance is secure. But no, it's so true, and I think one of the biggest moments for me was 2020. I don't know what it was. It was like the stimulus checks. When those things started pumping out, and my friends started, in the group chat, they're like, this is free money. I was like, this is everything that I've been learning about Bitcoin because I've been listening to podcasts, reading books, and it never clicked until about that time. And I was like, this is not free money.
Mm-mm.
They are printing a shit ton of money right now, trillions, precedented amount of money. Wasn't it like 40% of the money supply printed in like 2 years? And I remember telling them, I was like, this is not free money. This is going to come back around and we are going to pay 10x for it, whether it's inflation, taxes, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, this is the biggest ad for Bitcoin I've ever seen, and I hope you guys see it. One of my friends, he still owns Bitcoin, but the other one was like, Bitcoin's a scam, it's a bubble, it's a Ponzi. Almost all my friends still think that, and I've been talking to them about it for 7, 8 years, and they still don't see it.
Yeah, they don't understand the problem with money.
No, and that's like
Um,
because we live in America and like
mhm.
you wouldn't have noticed it. Like, could you imagine if you were making $150,000 a year and your bank account was never frozen?
Yeah,
You would
yeah,
never go to it.
yeah. And honestly, I was making six figures and I was still paycheck to paycheck. That was the thing. Yeah,
That's wild.
wild. Still paid. Like, not necessarily like that tight, but I was tight enough that when my account was frozen, like I didn't have many options. Other than like I had one credit card and the limit wasn't even that high. Um, so I was like tore up for a little bit until we figured all that out. And I think most Americans are like, even if you make a good salary, people are spending money as by design. And so just as fast as it comes in, it's going back out. So that also, like, when I say I made some commitments to myself, that was one of them. I was like, I am not going to be a fucking consumer anymore. So I got rid of everything. I haven't paid a car payment in years. I don't even have cable. I got Wi-Fi. I stream everything I could eliminate to so that I could free up my salary to invest. That's what I did. And then I didn't understand investing. My parents, my family, they weren't big investors. You know, they were kind of part of that 80s time period where, you know, you had Black Monday and all that. So my dad only remembers like investors really losing everything and people committing suicide and all that. So he was like, well, what if you put your money in and all your money's gone? I'm like, Dad, you don't have any money, so it ain't gonna be.
Once you realize what's in the bank is not yours,
That's it.
it changes your whole mindset. You're like, why do I have 10 grand in my savings account? Why do I have this money? It's nothing.
It's nothing. Like you're doing all this work to save. You're scraping and scrapping to save, and it's devaluing, and you don't even know it. All you know is everything keeps getting harder and harder and harder, and you can't like three jobs people have, three jobs, and they're still struggling to make ends meet.
It's
And you're
wild.
never going to catch up unless you put your money somewhere where it's going to grow faster than the hurdle rate. And then the other thing I learned, like what I figured out along the way, is number one, the dollar is not money. It is a currency, and there's a difference. In order for money to be money, it has to be a store of value. When that clicked, a lot of other things clicked. And then I said, okay, the dollar is in abundance. They just give that shit away. Go get it. So then, like, I was so afraid of debt before.
Mhm.
And I had some consumer debt, but I was so afraid of debt that I was afraid to leverage it in order to, you know, make money. And so now, one, I'm not into consumer debt because I don't really want nothing. Uh, but um, but now I'm like, they just give money away. And once I realize that, it just keeps coming to me. Money just keeps coming, or dollars just keep coming, and I keep turning it into Bitcoin every way I can. And I think that's another way people don't realize that how much abundance of money is out there, and that they need you to get it, and they want you to spend it and consume things. But I'm getting it, and I'm using it to buy more Bitcoin.
You're turning it into the hardest asset that we
Mm-hmm.
possibly could have right now.
Yep.
And
And
that,
then, and I'm servicing the debt with my salary. So I have income. I'm going to service that debt with my salary. I'll keep my expenses low. I'm not living like a horrible life, but I'm not living a luxury life. And at the end, my end game is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible before it gets hijacked by institutions, the governments, blah, 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 blah.
yeah. No, I mean, that's another big thing about Bitcoin right now is being $100,000 plus is intimidating. And if you don't have that conviction, you see people on X all the time. They're like, oh, why would I buy $20 worth, $50 worth, $100 worth? It's like, well, what else are you going to buy? Because if you don't have that, you in the future, that 100, that 20, it's not going to be worth anything. And
Exactly.
I mean, you have to, that's how I see it. I have to accumulate as much as possible, as quickly as possible. Like you said, before institutions, governments, I mean, it's only going to get harder to accumulate the higher it goes.
That's right. And I think like you were asking too, like, is retail gear and what's keeping them back? Um,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Bitcoin, like you said, over $100,000. Most people are number go up folks. So, and they're not orange bills, so they don't understand the problem again. When they see Bitcoin worth that amount of money, they can't imagine it going to 250 to 1 million to multiple millions. So to them, it's not worth a gamble anymore. So then they'll gamble on all those other altcoins with like a lower threshold, in their opinion.
Well, it's
Um,
funny because they think like, oh, if it goes to a million, they're like, no way. I'm like, that's a 10x. That's a
yeah.
10x. What other investment are you going to 10x your money in like possibly 5 years?
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to go back because did you start the Bitcoin army yourself, or did you do it with some people, or were
No.
you brought in?
So I did not start it. It started on the timeline. I don't know if you were like active back in December of this past year,
So I was
2024.
I was active on Twitter, but under my name Vince.
Oh,
So I was active since like 2017, I think, and I didn't post very often. I was the lurker who just kind of looked and found,
me too.
good. Yeah, I was learning, but then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make an anonymous account when I moved to Florida about a year ago. I was like, I'm gonna make an anonymous account and I'm just gonna start posting. And that's about 3 months in is when I found the Bitcoin Army
Cool.
because of Joel Hodelman. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. So in December, a bunch of us were coming. Well, most of us had already been on X, but there was this kind of like this movement where people like Bitcoiners were like, let's get monetized so that we can use X's monetization money to stack more sats.
I
There
saw
was that whole thing. In reality, like you're getting $15 every 2 weeks. But anyway, we weren't concerned about that at the time. So there was this big follow for follow train going on, and that's how I met most of the people. So I met Jimmy Carlin, Bitcoin Jimmy Carlin, um, Stacy, a bunch of folks, and we just sort of connected and started posting on the timeline. And every once in a while, we would mention each other, and then somehow we kept adding people to the mentions and adding people to the mentions. So one day, Carlin was like, Michelle, where's the list? And I was like, well, I got like 20 people on this list, but we need to add these people to the list. So I started a thread where there was like, I think it ended up being like 15 lists of people. So it was more than 150 people. And that was just getting out of control. So Carlin, in the meantime, had started the Bitcoin Army community and set it up. And we kind of, we're just easing people in there, not really taking it seriously. And then finally, we said, okay, this is the community. We can't keep doing lists of thousands of people in a thread. Let's just start a community. So Carlin set it up. He made me and Stacy and Jimmy moderators to begin. And we just started getting people to move over to there, and we kept doing our thing, kind of shit posting, having a good time on the timeline, blah, blah, blah. And then Carlin went back to school, I think sometime mid January. It got real quiet. And I was like, you know what? I want to keep this thing going. And so, and I really can see like this idea about A narrative bigger than number go up. What the collective power of a community. What is my role on X? Because I was spending a lot of time, doing my little posting and connecting with people and, still trying to get monetized, whatever. And I just decided, okay, I'm going to be the connector. I'm going to bring Bitcoiners to Bitcoiners. So I just started posting like that. And every time somebody joined the community, I would welcome them in with a welcome post. And then I did a Stack Sats post where with every new member, I would buy $10 worth of Bitcoin for every new member every day, and until we get to 2,100 members. And that took us to 2,100. And I did it every single day. And it was
I
really
remember that.
fun. Yeah, that was really fun. So it just sort of organically came together. More and more people of like minds, are interested in being part of it. They can see immediately that something different is happening here. And people who are kind of into that um, love it. And it's what makes the community the community. Like we're bigger than Number Go Up. And we really support small accounts. Like what we said we would do three things no matter what, and always stick to this ethos. One is promote Bitcoin adoption. Two, support small accounts. So if you're that person that's just posting into the void and nobody sees your stuff, come to the Bitcoin Army. We're eventually going to see it and we're going to promote you. And then number three, we have got to stop this number go up silliness on Bitcoin X, where that's the only conversation and it's the biggest conversation. And we got to get people to think differently to really understand what Bitcoin solves for. And collectively, like each one of our voices reach people differently. My voice might reach a different set of people. Vince, your voice is going to reach a different set of people. Joel's voice is going to reach a different set of people. And our collective voice is powerful. I really think we could be the most powerful community on X. And that's what we're going for.
That's awesome. No, so, so this is why I personally wanted to talk to you because I owe you a thank you because of Bitcoin Army.
Oh,
So I'll tell you this quick story. So I ended up getting into the Bitcoin Army, and I ended up getting monetized in like 3 months, and I was like, holy crap! Like I gained like 1,000 followers, 2,000 followers, 3,000 followers, and I was like, this is insane. And then I was literally at the gym and I get a message from someone on Twitter. You know, most of the time when you get those messages, you're like, who is this? This is weird. I'm not going to answer it. And this guy, he's like kind of persistent. He's like, hey, do you mind getting on a call? And I'm like, all right, I'm feeling good. I was like, sure, let's talk. And he calls me, and it's this other guy named Vince. And so I'm talking to this other Vince who happens to live an hour away from me in Florida.
oh wow.
He has an idea with this other gentleman in the UK, and they're like, we're starting this business called Beacon, and we've been watching you post, and we like what you post, we enjoy it, and we think your mindset could do our company a lot of good. So by talking through the Bitcoin Army out of nowhere, I am now joined a Bitcoin company called Beacon, which is where this will be posted on. And now we're helping other companies learn how to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, trying to orange pill companies, churches, it's things like that, all because of the Bitcoin Army. So
Wow.
your little shit posting, starting out with 100 people, 200. I don't think you realize how much it can change other people's lives, and not just in Bitcoin, but I've been looking for something to do other than, try and find crappy work. And now I was like, I've always wanted to work in Bitcoin. And now I have that opportunity in a roundabout way through the Bitcoin Army.
That's amazing. This is how the universe works.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I
And I
love
was
it.
like, I had to get Michelle on because that's badass.
It is. And you know what? That's what we're here for. I mean, and as we grow, people are going to, there's going to be many opportunities and many different ways that we can support Bitcoin adoption. And for me, I'm at the point in my life and I don't even care how I monetize or if I ever monetize. I I feel good about how I'm set up for the future. I'm not worried about myself anymore and I don't want a lot. Like at some point you realize you have enough. I think that maybe comes with age. But now the only thing I want to do is help people.
Well, I think that comes with a low time preference in Bitcoin. And Bitcoin changes you.
Yeah.
I mean, you see the posts, eat steak, creatine. You see that stuff. It's fun and games, but it
Yeah.
does change you for the better. You want to start taking care of yourself. You work out. You want to help people. You're not worried about those things that give you anxiety day to day. It's kind of weird how it transforms you.
Yeah, you're like there's a peace and a calm that comes.
Yeah,
And there was a time like I had I had dream cars and I had a dream house and this and then that. I don't even want that stuff anymore. Like it doesn't even matter. Like I wonder why I ever wanted it.
because society tells you that's what success looks like.
Yeah, yes. So now success looks like to me the story you just told.
Family,
The family.
relationships.
Yes. The fact that you are now able to do something that you really find meaningful. It's part of the new paradigm in Bitcoin. And you found that because of your connection with the Bitcoin army. That is meaningful to me. And that's all I want now. I want to hear more stories like that.
It's pretty cool. But hey, I have to ask you because yesterday, MicroStrategy, they bought freaking $2.46 billion worth of Bitcoin. So I have to ask you about MicroStrategy, what you think about it. I mean, they have what four different sectors of MicroStrategy now: Strike, Stripe, Stride, and Stretch.
Yeah.
They own over 600,000 Bitcoin, almost 3% of the total supply.
Hmm.
So I have to ask your opinion about all these treasury companies, especially MicroStrategy. Is this good? Is it bad? What are your opinions about it?
I think I try not to hold too many opinions for others because everybody's on their own journey and they have like their end game is not my end game. I can only hold opinion for myself. And so my end game is I want complete sovereignty. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. I don't want anybody to be able to take from me what is mine. I want to make my own moves. I want freedom, complete freedom. And so if I want that, then I need to hold Bitcoin. That's with a period at the end of the sentence. Now, for MicroStrategy and treasury companies, first and foremost, Michael Saylor is a genius. He's a financial genius. He's also a businessman. He's selling products. And that strategy is working. And it's working for a lot of people. And if you are there to make money, fiat money, that's going to work for you. I do think it's getting a little out of hand. Like how many products can you put out on the market without it becoming a little too many? And then my other thought is with treasury companies in general, like the bubble part comes in because not every company has a great CEO like a Michael Saylor. You have idiots that are running companies into the ground. And just because they put Bitcoin on the balance sheet doesn't mean all of a sudden that company is worth more. And so I think people need to be careful about how they gamble on those things. I think Michael Saylor is in a league of his own. He's an architect, an engineer, and a salesman. Um, so if that's the journey you're on and you think you can outsmart just holding Bitcoin, you go ahead and go get it. But for me, every move I make is about how I secure my future and my sovereignty. Now, I hold MicroStrategy, and but it makes me very uncomfortable. Every time he comes up with a new product, I get more and more uncomfortable. And so I'm getting out by the end of this by the end of this year. I want to get out of my MicroStrategy and just flip everything into Bitcoin.
Okay. So yeah, I was this is where my head kind of went. I don't know if you've seen other people talk about this, but I definitely agree with this right now that every cycle has its boom and busts,
Mm-hmm.
and there's always a new product. The first time, you see it was all cypherpunks, whatever. That was back in like 2013. But then 2017, you see ICOs, you see these companies popping up out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden they're worth $10 billion and they
Right.
don't even do anything. It's
Don't
a
do that.
nothing. And then
Right.
those all go to zero. Then we have NFTs. NFTs were selling for $400,000 for a pet rock picture, and now those are worth like $100.
Right.
It's another product that got born out of the crypto cycle that has gone away. And then what was it? What was in 2020? I'm drawing a blank, but
Meme coins,
yeah,
Meta,
yes,
like
meme coins.
NFTs were 2020, like everything.
And now I feel like this cycle is going to possibly be some treasury companies that are going to get over leveraged. They're going to be over their skis. And if we hit a bear market like we typically do, I don't know if that will happen or not. No one does. But if we do go down 70, 80%, some of these companies that have leverage, their bills are going to come due. And if you're holding that stock and backing them, you could lose a lot, and they're going to have to liquidate their Bitcoin. And I personally think I don't think this will happen to MicroStrategy because they've been through two bear cycles, one really bad one. Like they'll be fine. But I think that's the next thing to pop this cycle is treasury companies.
Oh, 100%. I get very nervous. And then the other thing is, outside of like possibly treasury companies being in a bubble, I get nervous about big institutions, nation states, etc., hijacking the Bitcoin. This is supposed to be separation of money from state, right? And so the more we have that going on, then there's less Bitcoins in the hands of people like you and me. And again, like what the dream for me is to see more and more people, individuals, adopt a Bitcoin standard to hold some Bitcoin. So treasury companies getting in there and, trying to hijack the narrative, it just, it doesn't make me feel good to see it. And even like, other entities on Wall Street, the Black Rocks, and that sort of thing, it doesn't, I once was very excited because again, I was number go up and I know that that will make the number go up. But the more and more I study and get orange pilled and understand what it is we're really doing here, the more and more those things just make me nervous and make me want to stack harder before price runs away. Um, and like if we really do get an SBR, I mean that's probably one of the worst things that could happen actually.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that too. I mean, they were going to do a crypto talk today, and apparently there's nothing about an SBR, Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, in what they're talking about. But why does that make you nervous?
I think, like, I like a low percentage of Bitcoin in the hands of nation states and institutions. The higher the percentage of Bitcoin in those hands, um, the further away from separation of money and state we get. And at the end of the day, that's the end game, is that like, the government has no control of our money. And like and the question we should all ask ourselves is how does the US holding Bitcoin help anyone.
Yeah. I mean, the problem I wrestle with is we have 4-year cycles for presidents too, not just Bitcoin. Even if Donald Trump somehow gets a Bitcoin reserve for the United States, what happens when another president comes in that has different intentions than, when we first got it?
Yeah.
If they buy a million Bitcoin and Donald Trump has to go away, a new person comes in, and then a new person comes in. What happens on the second, third, fourth president that comes in and they use that maliciously? I don't know how they could, but that's
Maliciously as they could further debase our dollar to buy it or whatever. Like, honestly, that's like people, I keep hearing this narrative of the first country that does that is the winner. No, the fuck they're not. They just ruin the lives of so many of their citizens by printing money to buy Bitcoin. Like, it doesn't, that's the malicious and malintent that we should be thinking about. They will do things like that in order to acquire it. And like, it just doesn't help anyone. Bitcoin should be in the hands of everyday people
individual.
and individuals. And to me, that is like the ultimate, like, it's the dream. So I just, and okay, let's talk about Trump. He's a politician. We don't trust any politicians. None of us
Correct.
should. Trump knows that Bitcoin is a number go up game. So he knows that all he has to do is put a narrative out there that there could be a possibility of an SBR and the number goes up. And all he has to do is hold it or hold adjacent assets. And it'll go up for him and for his people. I think he's using this presidency in these last a few years to really support his circle around him. And those people in the circle probably understand Bitcoin and cryptocurrency better than he does. So, like, he doesn't even know what he's doing with it. Like, it's just, I don't think anything positive will come of an SBR, a U.S. SBR.
Well, and it it kind of shows where his head is at when he launched Trump coin and Milani coin. And I think that was such a big disservice to the Bitcoin community. If you're going to go to the Bitcoin conference and talk about Bitcoin, then launch your own shitcoin soon after, that it only makes it harder for Bitcoiners on the regulatory side. Because Bitcoin, no matter what, government's going to get involved. It's going to happen. They're going to try and put whatever regulations they can. They're going to try and prohibit, people from storing it in their cold wallets. They're going to try and it's what they go against.
Yeah.
And by Trump doing that, his Trump coin and things like that, I think really put a sour taste in a lot of Bitcoiners' mouths about no government official is really going to be. I mean, maybe in 20 years there will be something, but as of right now, I don't see any government officials that are truly for Bitcoin. They're all shitcoiners still. They are not orange.
100%. 100%. Their end game is not a deflationary asset where money doesn't need to be controlled by an entity. That is not a government end game.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah. So we allowed them to hijack Bitcoin in certain ways.
Well, I think that's what's so important about things like the Bitcoin army is having small communities with a lot of individual Bitcoiners having different voices and teaching things like self-custody, I think are so important because if you're leaving, your whole stack on somewhere like Coinbase, it's not your Bitcoin, just like the money in the bank is not your money.
Same idea. Yeah.
And as soon as governments are able to tap that, they will.
100%. They can seize it. Um, Yeah, if the exchange goes down, and a lot of them are at high risk for that because they do stupid stuff, um, then we saw that Celsius, FTX, blah.
Yeah.
Um, you have all this third party risk. So your best bet is to self custody. And we've never been able to do that before. Like, it's mind blowing when you think about it that you can just be your own bank and no one needs to hold your money.
Yeah.
You don't need any parties to settle your money. It can settle in a decentralized way. Like, I think, again, like if we can get that knowledge and that education out there, then so many people will be freed up. And they don't even realize, like you can say, I can say those exact words I just said to most of my friends and family, and they'll say, Michelle, I understood two words that came out of your mouth. What is decentralization? What is third party risk? What, why do I need to hold my own money? Like, it's not even money, it's digital. Like, so, and then how do you do this? Blah, 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 blah. There's so many barriers when it comes to understanding what we hold. But it's also so important, and people don't realize it's probably the most important thing that is ever going to happen in our lifetime.
I agree. All right. So I know we just talked about number go up, not the best message, but I
But we
gotta
still
give.
like it. I mean,
We
we
still
don't want
enjoy
it
it.
to never go down.
Well, if number went down, I don't think very many people would want to buy Bitcoin. But I gotta ask a little bit about price action. We've had whales selling since, they've been holding since 2011, since 2013. They're selling 80,000 Bitcoin, like what just happened the other week. And we barely moved. We went down like 3%, always by the dip. But we've had, a lot of sellers now that we've gotten up. Do you think price action moving forward? I guess I'm trying to ask, where do you see this cycle going?
It's the institutional adoption cycle. I think, and I think they will get the Bitcoin because of the Willy Woos that are turning it over to them. They will get the Bitcoin because of the semi Bitcoiners that see the Willy Woos turning it in, and then in their head, this must be a sign. There's some reason why OG Bitcoiners are turning over their Bitcoin. And so it will allow um, Bitcoin to be redistributed. And so by the end of this cycle, a lot of that Bitcoin will be held by institutions and Wall Street. And new Bitcoiners won't come as strong and as fast because we have, you've got the price that will scare them. And they wouldn't be able to imagine Bitcoin 10xing in the future. And they don't understand why Bitcoin is an important technology. So this narrative is treasury companies, it's the ETFs, and people overhype the nation state conversation. Probably by next cycle, it'll be a nation state conversation, and that's when we really need to be worried. Um, but yeah, this Bitcoin is going to be distributed to institutions this cycle, and so it'll be held mostly by strong hands, people like you and me that get it, and then Wall Street.
Do you think that will affect the typical 4-year cycle of a boom and bust? Do you think we'll get I'm almost in the camp of, I don't know if we're going to have a euphoria phase this cycle. I don't know if we're going to get a boom to 250, 300K and then drop 70% again. I'm almost more in the camp of, because institutions and Wall Street are involved, I have a feeling we are going to creep up 10, 20% per month and kind of do what we've been doing for the past couple months, go up 10%, level off for 2, 3 weeks, jump up 10%, level off. And then I think this cycle is going to extend into 2026 instead of typical November, December is usually, the 18 months after the halving is when we see that big crash. I think this time it's going to be a slower, at least I'm hoping, because a big 70% drawdown, I think it hurts a lot of people, and a lot of people lose conviction during that time. It builds a little character if you can hold through it and buy those dips. But that's where
Yeah.
I kind of see the cycles going. Might be wrong. I don't know.
I tend to somewhat agree, but I think there's a lot of contingencies. Like um, the cycle of Bitcoin is very much contingent on the macro environment. Like we want to say it's uncorrelated, but it's not really that uncorrelated. And so I think that there's a lot of money still sitting on the sidelines, and they're still trying to decide when to deploy it and where to deploy it. And I think the catalyst, because every cycle needs a catalyst, right? We had Trump's election that was like the first catalyst. Well, there was three. There was the ETF catalyst, then Trump's election, and then we need a third catalyst. And I think that catalyst is when the tariff situation gets finally figured out, and nobody's concerned about tariffs anymore impacting the economy. And then we have a real plan to lower interest rates, then investors are going to throw money into the market again.
I agree.
But I think they're holding on to figure out what's going to happen with tariffs and what's going to happen with interest rates. And as soon as those two things, as soon as we get more clarity there, money's coming, trillions, money's coming. A lot of it now will come to Bitcoin because there's a lot more legitimacy in the market around Bitcoin now, especially with treasuries, especially because strategy is working, that sort of thing. So I think depending on when and if that happens, that could be the euphoria. Now, will it be wild like it's been in the past? Probably not, but it won't be like such a boring market where, we creep up 10% and go sideways, creep up 10%. But I don't think that we are going to crash unless something like we have in the past, unless something happens that we don't foresee in the macro environment.
I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. But I'm really hoping like we have a slow grind up because that gets more people a chance to get in, understand what Bitcoin is, more plebs hold Bitcoin, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, Michelle, that's all I've got. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. This was a fun conversation.
Yes, I'm very thankful for you. Thankful for allowing me to do this, and I'll see you on the Bitcoin Army.
Can I give a shout out? Can I give a plug for Bitcoin Army
Oh
spaces?
yeah, oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. Where can people find you?
okay, so one, I'm like on X, Michelle O underscore 21 mil. You'll find me on the Bitcoin Army timeline constantly. And then the Bitcoin Army is really trying to grow. And like I said, we want to be the biggest, most influential on X. Really interested in changing the narrative. And so one of the ways we're doing that is we're committed to having a space happen every single week. Excuse me, every single day of the week.
Every day.
Every day. So right now, I think we've got 5 of the 7 days covered, and our goal is to get to 7 out of 7, maybe multiple spaces in a day. But Monday night is our new pleb meet and greet. Tuesday, the journeyman is starting his own space. I'm not sure what the topic will be, but he's going to start a space on Tuesday. Wednesday is now a crime fighter. Um, we're fighting crimes against Bitcoin. Killer B is starting that space, and his intention is really to call out the bad actors in the
Okay.
cryptocurrency and Bitcoin space. So that's kind of unique and different.
I like it.
Thursday, we've got Brune Biddy, who does a vibe session, and it's really just vibing, talking about whatever. Friday is my Bitcoin cousin, who's doing a space on just elevated thought, consciousness, etc. And then on Saturday, which is our most popular, is Rob Satz, and he'll keep doing like a technical topic on Bitcoin. We've done like node running, talked about Bitcoin treasury companies, the impact, all different types of more technical topics. So we still got Sundays open. So if anybody wants to take Sunday, we're looking for that. And then any of those other days of the week, if you want to do a second space outside of the space that's already going, we welcome it. We want to have spaces going all the time. Bitcoin Army spaces going all the time.
That's awesome. I'm here for it. I've actually never joined a full-on Bitcoin Twitter X Spaces before.
You gotta get on. I mean, sometimes it's a little rapid. Monday nights sometimes go off the rails, but always a good time. And it's just, you get to learn so much about people. And in the Bitcoin community, I mean, we're like we're talking about all different types of things, like you said, health and wellness, consciousness, things that just make you a better human, make you a smarter person. That's what we're here to do. And so I love when we are able to do these spaces and hold them and have different voices connecting with people. And we're one of those communities where we're not about all that negativity and people coming on trying to trap you into something and make you feel stupid about your comments. We're not doing any of that. We want to hear from everybody. We want to give everybody a place to have a voice. And when you do come on a space and you're able to talk and people can connect your personality with your account, it just makes such a difference.
It humanizes you.
It humanizes you. So yeah, we want to see more of that, and we want to do more spaces. So
No, that's awesome. I'll see you on there. I'll join. I'll start to join a couple,
please
and
do
I'll hop on, and I don't know. Maybe I'll just be a listener for a while, but
a
maybe.
little of both. I usually just listen. I show up to almost every single one of them, but usually just listening.
Okay. So everyone should join Bitcoin Army, follow Michelle, and join some spaces with us. And I
Be a
like that.
part of the revolution.
Absolutely. That's
We're
the best
coming.
thing. Best thing about the Bitcoin revolution is the people in it are probably the most support. It's better than a therapy group. I don't know what it is, but if you see someone reach out on X or Twitter and they're like, "Hey, do you guys mind praying for me?" Or, put me in your thoughts and prayers, or I don't know, I need help with this problem. People will literally drop what they're doing and help you.
They sure will.
It's absolutely amazing. And I think that's one of the coolest things about the Bitcoin, atmosphere and being inside the Bitcoin army is the people I've met that are like, I trust people that I've met on Twitter probably more than some of my own friends. All because I'm like, they're a Bitcoiner. They have the same ethos as me.
That's right.
I already know that they are more trustworthy than most people because they are a Bitcoiner.
100%.
And that's what I love about the Bitcoin army.